Here are 30 things that the average person might not know about light. 1. Light travels at different speeds in different mediums. In a vacuum, light travels at about 186,000 miles per second, but in water or glass, it slows down. 2. Light is both a wave and a particle. This dual nature is known as the wave-particle duality and is a fundamental concept in quantum mechanics. 3. The color of light depends on its wavelength. Red light has the longest wavelength, while violet light has the shortest. 4. Light can be bent. This phenomenon is called refraction, which occurs when light passes through a medium with a different density. 5. White light is a combination of all colors. When passed through a prism, white light splits into visible spectrum like the rainbow. 6. There are forms of light beyond the visible spectrum. Ultraviolet, UV, and infrared, IR light, for example, are invisible to the human eye but can be detected with special tools. 7. Light doesn't always travel in straight lines. It can bend around objects through a process called diffraction. 8. Light can be polarized, meaning its waves vibrate in one direction. Polarized lenses, like those in sunglasses, can block certain orientations of light. 9. The speed of light is a cosmic constant. Nothing in the universe can travel faster than the speed of light in a vacuum. 10. The concept of a photon refers to a particle of light. Photons have no rest mass, but they carry energy and momentum. 11. Darkness is not the opposite of light. Darkness is simply the absence of visible light. 12. The sun emits more than just visible light. It produces UV, infrared, and other types of electromagnetic radiation. 13. Light from the sun takes about 8 minutes and 20 seconds to reach Earth. 14. Lasers are a highly focused form of light. They emit light that is coherent. All waves are aligned and monochromatic, one color. 15. Light can be bent by gravity. This is called gravitational lensing, and it's used by astronomers to observe distant objects in space. 16. A laser pointer is more dangerous than it seems. If pointed directly at the eye, even a small laser can damage the retina. 17. Plants see light. They use light to power photosynthesis, the process that allows them to create food from sunlight. 18. We see colors because of how light interacts with objects. Different wavelengths of light are absorbed or reflected by materials, and we only perceive the reflected light. 19. The color of the sky is due to Rayleigh scattering. Shorter blue wavelengths scatter more than longer red wavelengths, making the sky appear blue. 20. Light can be bent to create cloaking effects. Research into invisibility cloaks use metametals to bend light around an object, making it invisible. 21. Incandescent bulbs are inefficient because they emit a lot of heat in addition to light. They use more electricity because they not only use energy, they emit energy. 22. Light can be used to measure time. The concept of a light year is a measure of distance, but light itself is often used in time measurement, such as in atomic clocks. 23. Bioluminescence is light produced by living organisms. Fireflies, certain types of jellyfish, and deep sea fish all produce light through chemical reactions. Also, at the moment a human is created, a flash of light is emitted. 24. Light behaves differently in different wavelengths. Some wavelengths can pass through materials like glass, while others, such as X-rays, can go through solid objects. 25. Light can be used to transmit data. Fiber optic cables use light pulses to carry data over long distances at high speeds. 26. Some animals can see in the ultraviolet spectrum. For example, birds and insects like bees can detect UV light, which is invisible to humans. 27. Lightning is a form of light. It occurs when charged particles in the atmosphere discharge, emitting bright flashes of light. 28. Light can change an object's properties. For example, some materials like photochromatic lenses change their color when exposed to UV light. 29. Light influences the circadian rhythm. It helps regulate sleep-wake cycles with exposure to natural light in the morning, promoting alertness. 30. Artificial light can affect human health. Excessive exposure to artificial light, especially blue light from screens, can disrupt your sleep patterns and cause eye strain. Now, I want to take many of these aspects of light and show how light and God are related. 1. Light travels at different speeds in different mediums. Just as light behaves differently in various mediums, God's presence is understood to be omnipresent, but experienced in different ways depending on the circumstances and the individual's openness to Him. God's interaction with the world can be felt in many forms, sometimes in quiet whispers, sometimes in powerful manifestations. 2. Light is both a wave and a particle. Like light's dual nature, God is described in the Bible as both fully transcendent, beyond human understanding, and immanent, closely involved in this world. This duality can be mirrored in the Christian understanding of the Holy Trinity. God is both one and three, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. 3. White light is a combination of all colors. God is the source of all creation, the origin of everything good. God encompasses all attributes of goodness, mercy, and love. And in the same way that white light combines all colors, God's nature embodies all virtues, and God's humans come in all colors. 4. There are forms of light beyond the visible spectrum. This mirrors the idea that God's presence and influence extend beyond what can be seen with the human eye. God's actions and plans are often beyond human comprehension or visibility, but they still impact the world in profound, unseen ways. 5. Light doesn't always travel in straight lines. God's plans and workings are often mysterious and not always easily understood. Like light that bends or refracts, God's methods and purposes can sometimes take unexpected turns, challenging human expectations. 6. Light can be polarized. In the same way light can be polarized, God's truth can be interpreted in many different ways, depending on one's heart and perspective. Some people may see the light of God's truth clearly, while others may have a distorted view, influenced by their own biases or experiences. 7. Light is a cosmic constant. Just as light is unchanging in its speed and behavior, God is constant and unchanging also. He is eternal, with no beginning or end, and is always faithful and reliable. 8. Darkness is the absence of light. Sin is the absence of God's light. Just as darkness cannot exist where light is present, sin and evil are seen as the absence of God's goodness and holiness. 9. The sun emits more than just visible light. In the same way, God's influence is not limited to what can be seen immediately or understood. He is the source of all life, and His presence permeates every aspect of creation, including those that are not immediately apparent to the human eye. 10. Light could be bent by gravity, gravitational lensing. Just as light bends due to gravity, God's influence can bend or transform the lives of individuals, redirecting them towards His will in ways that may not always be immediately obvious. 11. Light is used to transmit data. Light can symbolize the transmission of divine truth. Just as light carries information through fiber optics, God's Word is a form of illumination that brings truth and understanding to those who receive it. Message taken. 12. Bioluminescence. Living organisms producing light. In the Christian tradition, believers are called the light of the world. Matthew 5:14. Just as living organisms can produce light, Christians are called to reflect God's light in their lives through actions, love, and truth. 13. Light influences the circadian rhythm. Just as light regulates physical rhythms, God's presence regulates the spiritual lives of believers, guiding them through their daily lives and providing spiritual rhythm in times of prayer, worship, and reflection. 14. Artificial light can affect human health. Similarly, the absence of God or the choice to live without His guidance is often detrimental to human well-being, leading to spiritual darkness or even illness. 15. Light bends around obstacles, diffraction. In the same way, God's light can penetrate even the most difficult situations. Nothing, no obstacle or trial can completely block out God's love and grace. 16. Light can be dangerous in excess, such as lasers. While God's presence is a source of life and love, the Bible also portrays His holiness as something that is overwhelming for humans to encounter directly, such as in the story of Moses and the burning bush or the vision of God's throne in Isaiah. God's power is overwhelming, just as intense light can be blinding or damaging. Light as God emphasizes His omnipresence, constant nature, ability to penetrate the darkness, and His ability to transform and guide the world. Light can symbolize purity, truth, and the revelation of God's glory, drawing strong parallels with Christian teachings about God's nature. Now let's continue the story of Ellen, light and God, and questions. Remember, Ellen's life wasn't going too great. She had found her sister Hattie's journal and started thinking about asking questions. Her sister's friend Tom had also been sending cryptic messages. The next morning, Ellen woke up with a sense of unease. She didn't know why, but it felt like the world had shifted overnight. The air in her apartment was different, thicker somehow, as though it carried some kind of energy she couldn't explain. She sat up in bed, running her hand through her hair, trying to shake the strange feeling that had settled over her. Her mind was still reeling from the events of the previous night. She had asked the question, where is the truth in the silence? And she felt something happen, not in the room, but somewhere deeper inside of her. Like she had opened a door to something she couldn't close again. Something that wasn't just about the question, it was about her and the way she saw the world. She stood up, walking to the window, looking out at the city below. The streets were the same. The people were the same. But everything felt off. There was a slight vibration in the air, as though the world was somehow out of tune. Ella could feel it now. Something pulling her forward. Something telling her to keep asking, to keep searching. And yet, a part of her resisted. She'd seen that message in Hattie's journal. The more you ask, the more you lose yourself. She shuddered. She didn't want to lose herself, but was that even a choice? Later that afternoon, she was sitting in her office trying to focus on her patients, but the words didn't come out right. She couldn't concentrate. She glanced at her phone only to see a text from Tom, the physicist Hattie had been working with. Tom's message read, "You need to meet me. It's about Hattie. Tonight." Ellen felt a jolt of recognition. Something told her she had to see him. She didn't know why, but it felt urgent. Hattie had been obsessed with light, with questions, and now Tom was telling her it was important. The questions, the light. She quickly texted him back. "What have you found?" No response. That night, Ellen met Tom at a small, quiet cafe. He was already sitting at a corner table when she walked in, his eyes glued to a stack of papers. The moment she sat down, he didn't even look up. His hand shook slightly as he flipped through the pages. She couldn't help but notice how tense he was. Tom was usually the calm, logical one, but tonight, something was different. Ellen asked, "So what's going on? What'd you find?" Tom looked up at her, his eyes wide. There was a deep, almost unsettling urgency in his gaze. Tom replied, "I've been going through Hattie's notes. Ellen, you're not going to believe this, but I think Hattie was onto something huge, something impossible." Ellen asked quietly, "Impossible? What do you mean?" He slid a piece of paper toward her, filled with complicated equations and strange symbols. At the top, Hattie had written a phrase. "The universe responds to the questions we ask. It changes depending on how we observe it." Ellen, reading the note aloud, "The universe responds to the questions we ask." What does that even mean? Tom leaned in, his voice barely above a whisper. Hattie wasn't just studying physics. She was studying the way we see the world. She believed that when we observe something, anything, it responds to our questions. It changes. And she was using light as the experiment. Ellen blinked, processing what he was saying, then asked, "Light? You're telling me she was studying light by asking questions?" Tom responded, "Yes. The way light behaves, Ellen. It changes when you look at it. When you ask something of it." Hattie thought if you could manipulate the light, you could manipulate reality. And she was close to proving it. Ellen leaned back in her chair, her heart racing. The idea was insane, but something about it felt real, like something she could believe in. Hattie had always been the one searching for deeper meanings, looking for connections that no one else saw. And now it seemed like she had discovered something monumental. Ellen leaned back and asked curiously, "So, what are you saying? That I can change reality just by asking questions?" Tom answered, "Not just reality, Ellen, the way you perceive it." Hattie believed that if you asked the right questions, you could make the world bend to your will. It's like opening doors that are always been locked and you didn't even know they were there. Tom paused, running a hand through his hair. His voice dropped lower, filled with warning. "But Ellen, the more you ask, the more it changes you." Hattie started to lose herself. She couldn't separate what was real from what was just perception. It consumed her. Ellen's chest tightened. Was that what was happening to her? Was she already losing herself? Later that night, Ellen returned to her apartment. The air felt heavy again, as though the weight of the conversation she had with Tom had followed her home. She walked into her living room, the lights flickering as she passed. It wasn't unusual. The lights in her building had always been faulty, but tonight it seemed different. It felt intentional, like the room was reacting to her presence. She grabbed Hattie's journal from the table. She hadn't read it in a few days, but something told her now is the time. She needed to understand what Hattie had discovered. She needed to know what had driven her to this obsession with light and questions. She flipped through the pages, reading Hattie's scribbles. Passionate, chaotic thoughts. One phrase caught her eye. Light is not just something you see. It's something you feel. It moves through you. It changes you. Ellen closed the journal slowly. Hattie had always been intense, but this was different. Hattie had been onto something beyond physics, beyond the visible world. Could it be that light itself, the thing that makes the world visible, was actually alive in some way? Could it respond to questions? Ellen took a deep breath. She knew what she had to do. She had to ask. She had to see if it worked. She couldn't keep doubting it. If Hattie had found the key to everything, Ellen had to know the truth. She stood up and walked to the center of the room. The lights flickered again, almost in rhythm with her steps. She closed her eyes for a moment, trying to calm her thoughts. Then softly, almost in a whisper, she said, "What happens when light is no longer contained?" For a moment, there was nothing. No sound, no movement. But then the lights flickered violently. The room seemed to pulse with energy. Ellen staggered back, her heart pounding in her chest. The temperature in the room dropped, and she could see her breath. This wasn't a coincidence. Something was actually happening. She stumbled toward the window, her mind racing. Had she done this? Had her question, her simple, almost foolish question, caused this? The city lights outside shimmered strangely, casting an eerie glow across her apartment. She could feel the presence of something or someone watching her. The feeling of being observed was overwhelming. Then, as if to answer her, a knock came to the door. This is the end of part 2. What happens when the world begins to change right before your eyes? When the questions you ask start to shift everything around you? Ellen's journey has only just begun, and she's about to learn that not all questions should be answered unless you truly want to know the answer. If you don't believe that all things are possible, How can you be a scientist? I've always wondered that. If you rule out possible outcomes, how can you trust your answers? Have you ruled out asking uncomfortable answers because of fear? I'm Meryl, and this is Battleground. Subscribe and share, unless you're afraid. Check out these other ones. If you're interested in the Bible, go this way. And if you're just interested in my rants and trucking stuff, check out here.